Hello and welcome to LFC Focus. It is post-match reaction show after Liverpool have just opened their pre-season campaign by thrashing the absolute pants off of Tranmere Rovers by 6 goals to 0. It was a dominant performance from Liverpool, even better than I thought it was going to be perfectly honest. And look, I'm not going to read a load into the result. This video is mainly going to be about individual player performances, how they all gelled as a team, what they're looking like fitness-wise, the things you actually look for in pre-season. But I think it is a positive sign that Liverpool just scored that many goals, because at the end of the day, Tranmere are a League One side now. They're not the team that they used to be when we played them in pre-season games a couple of years ago, where they were a non-league team and they were more just happy to, have Liverpool come to town, have the revenue from the ticket sales, and a lot of the players will have been Liverpool fans as well, so they will have just been happy to line up against us. Whereas now, this was their second game of their pre-season campaign, so they were giving Liverpool a decent game. They were doing their best, and their manager will have wanted them to turn out and give their best because of that. So, it's an impressive sign that Liverpool were able to sweep them aside with such authority. And getting into a few of the player performances individually, starting off with the first half and starting off with the defence, Origi was a player that I think quite a few people were interested in seeing, especially because he was playing in that left-back role where, with Alberto Moreno on the way out, there's been talk of us potentially bringing in someone in. Junior Firpo is a player that is a name that has been mentioned in that left-back role as someone who can play it but can also play further forward. We're obviously going to be looking for an attacking left back, especially because Robertson's cover is probably not going to play in the big games and is more likely to play in cup matches against lower league opposition, where their primary role is to get forward and support the attack. And I thought Origi did that really, really well today. We know that his background comes in playing right wing, left wing, number 10 and stuff like that, and it's only last year that he was converted to a left back. But I thought he did everything that was asked of him today really, really well. He got forward, he was fast, he was direct with the ball, got into the box as well a little bit more than Andrew Robertson does, which I really enjoyed seeing, because it's nice to have someone offer a slightly different dimension to what your current first team players offer you. Obviously, he didn't get much asked of him defensively, so it remains to be seen whether that side of his game is actually there or whether something it will need improving there. He seemed to slightly have that Moreno attribute where he is fast enough that he can occasionally get caught out of position. I saw him sprinting back a few times. Hopefully that's something that he can rule out of his game and his positional play will get a little bit better, because I'd rather not see him leathering it up and down the touchline and then, end up being absolutely knackered on the hour mark or something like that. But in general, a really solid game from him. He was getting in the right positions and he linked up with the rest of the team well, and that's what I think is really important. What you want to see from the pre-season is that the academy players and the lads who are coming through are actually capable of gelling with the first team, who can slot in and not necessarily play the roles of the other first team players. We're not looking for someone who's the same as Firmino, the same as Robertson, because then what will be the point in having them round apart from for the sake of squad depth? You want them to offer something a little bit different, but they also need to fit in and not disrupt the flow. And I think Origi did pretty much everything that was asked of him, including that today. So a very, very positive sign from him. Also took some big knocks as well, which is good, because he's an academy player, and if we're going to use him in cup matches, he's going to be up against physical lower league sides like Tranmere, and he took some heavy tackles today and he carried on playing, and I think that is yet another good sign. So I was pleased with Origi, and whether or not he can be our backup left back remains to be seen. We'll probably know a little bit more about that as we go into the US tour, but for now at least, positive signs from the young lad at left back. In terms of the other defenders, Joe Gomez looked good, if a little bit rusty. I think he made one mistake, but he atoned for it and got back and made a block. So, he looks absolutely fine. The other players, I think Nat Phillips didn't really do much. Nathaniel Klein, fine, took his goal well. But, the only defender I was really interested in that game was Origi, because he's the one that we're all interested in, the one that probably has the clearest path to the first team at the moment out of all the youngsters that played in defence. Moving on to the midfield, it was pretty much all established players. You had Lallana playing the number 6, who looked fine. Again, a lot of the first team players were just decent enough. Obviously they're not being tested to their absolute limit at the moment because they're only playing against Tranmere. So again, they're the kind of players who we'll see a little bit more of in the US tour, and whether they can, whether their fitness is up there yet, what sort of roles they're going to be playing. It was interesting to see Lallana playing the number 6, whether that's just because, he's the only option there, or Jurgen Klopp sees him as a potential deep line playmaker in those games against lower league opposition in the League Cup remains to be seen. He was sharp enough. Touch wasn't always there, but the usual first pre-season outing performance from a first team player. James Milner, just absolutely boss. Great to have him round in these kind of games, because he does a lot of bits, but he's also looking to get all the young lads into the game as much as he possibly can. So he was fine and obviously fit as a fiddle. Oxlade-Chamberlain looked pretty sharp. He looks like he is the kind of complete Klopp midfielder that we knew he was becoming right before he sustained that injury. You know, the speed with which he moves the ball, the drive he has getting forward, his ability to win it back when we lose it quickly as well is all absolutely fantastic, and I cannot wait to see more of him over the rest of the season. Moving on to the attack, Ryan Brewster, another player that we were fascinated to see today. We've heard plenty of things about him. We've waited a long time to see him in a Liverpool shirt in first team action because of course, all the problems he's had with injury and stuff like that. But I thought a very, very promising outing from Ryan Brewster in that game. I think I've written in my notes, Ryan Brewster, love you. That basically sums it up. Both goals brilliantly taken, especially the first one. I really like, how quickly he can adjust his body. That's an instinctive finish. That's not something that you can teach. It's not something you can learn. It's just something certain strikers have. Robbie Fowler had it. Luis Suarez had it. Hopefully Ryan Brewster has it as well, because that would be a fantastic asset to have in the team. I think the thing he really needs to work on is his out of possession movement, because at the moment he is doing a bit of the headless chicken running. He's constantly chasing things down, and I think he'll gradually start to learn that if he wants to be like Firmino for Liverpool, and I think that's the aim really, because he wants to play centre forward for us, then he's going to have to learn that actually you don't go hell for leather pressing constantly. You wait your turn and you wait for the right moments to actually go for the jugular. It's what works so well for Firmino, because not only does it conserve energy, it means when you actually start pressing, it catches the opponent out. Whereas if you're just running back and forth, chasing down their back line, then they automatically know that they've got to get the ball moving quickly to avoid being caught out by you. But, Jurgen Klopp trusts the lad. He absolutely loves him. He's talked him up plenty. So I'm sure he believes that those are the kind of things that Ryan Brewster can learn. And in terms of just his on the ball work, he's got great feet. He's bringing his fellow teammates into play. He's doing those other bits of the Liverpool centre forward role brilliantly. And like I said, the one thing you can't teach is instinctive first touch number 9 style finishing in the 6-yard box, and he seems to have that in spades. So that is incredibly promising, and I cannot wait to see more of him in pre-season. The other two wingers we had in the attack, Harry Wilson, bit quiet. His main moment was the free kick. I think that's what we were all waiting to see. Sadly, that didn't go his way, although he looked pretty sharp. He looked like he'd been playing a lot of first team football at a reasonably high level last season. I think the Derby County loan definitely helped him. He didn't look like he's previously done in pre-season, where he's been a bit slow and sluggish and hasn't quite been at the pace of the other players. He looked like he was sharp. Ryan Kent also looks sharp, but I just think the quality isn't quite there with him. He'll probably be fine in the Scottish Premier League at Rangers, but I don't think there's a huge future at him for Liverpool. So probably the sooner he gets moved on to a club where he's going to get regular football and a club that's at his level, the better, to be honest. So moving on to the second half, and once again starting with the defenders. The two centre-backs didn't really have anything to do. Joel Matip played an absolutely fine ball to Divock Origi for that 5th goal that I will come on to later when I talk about Divock Origi's overall performance. So that was nice to see from him. What's his name? George Johnston, the other centre-back, looked about, 5'9" or something like that, which was a bit of a mismatch up against Tranmere's big lump up front. So he held himself reasonably well there. I feel like he's probably the player that, if we had Sepp van den Berg available, that was annoying, the whole whatever work permit issue that's going on with FIFA. Hopefully that'll be sorted out as soon as possible. But I feel like Johnston is probably the one that would have made way had Sepp van den Berg played. But he looked fine. Adam Lewis at left back, some good moments, some bad. Delivery's not amazing, but in the right kind of places, got the right kind of ideas. So, I don't know whether he's going to have any sort of future in the first team, but he looked fine enough. And so, he'll get more chances in pre-season to prove his worth at left back. At right back, Kiana Huerva, absolutely boss, isn't he? We didn't really see much of him, but he looks so sharp on the ball. I mean, when you're looking for ball-playing centre-backs, he looks like he fits the bill. And he also looks like he's got the speed, the power, the directness, and the delivery as well to play that right-back role as well, which is fantastic because, like I said, full-back is the kind of area that Liverpool are a bit down on in cover at the moment. And I think if we're thinking about that left-back role, you can maybe look at putting someone else as the right-back cover for Trent, so Gomez can then move to going back to being left-back cover, because he played that role when he first arrived at Liverpool. And obviously it's not ideal to have one of your centre-backs also be full-back cover, and that can cause its own problems. It's something we did last season, so maybe Jurgen Klopp will be looking to do that season. So if Kiana Huerva can be the backup for Trent Alexander-Arnold this season, then that would be a huge bonus. And like I said, great on the ball, direct, involved in attacks. I just like the guy. I think he's definitely going to be a first-team player for Liverpool going forward. Whether or not he gets many chances this season remains to be seen. I want to see a bit more of him at centre-back later on in pre-season, but what we saw today was absolutely brilliant as always. Moving on to the midfield, Fabinho, boss. I mean, this level's just too low for him, isn't it? It's just, at times, Tranmere, they got the ball, they got past our younger lads in midfield, and they thought they were getting away, and then in comes Firmino, and he's like, sorry, I'm just too good. I just can't help myself. And he wins the ball and he gets the attack going again, and he just did that for 45 minutes. He's another player that I'm more interested to see what happens with the US Tour and the Community Shield games and the Leon friendly and stuff like that. That's where I feel like we're going to get the measure of where Fabinho's at in terms of how ready he is for this season, but he certainly looks sharp enough based off today's evidence. The other midfielders, Jones and Woodburn, both of them had good moments. It's a great goal from Curtis Jones, a good ball from Woodburn as well, whose delivery was pretty solid all the way through the game. Jones' footwork, as usual, was fine. The kind of things we saw last season in pre-season, and we wanted them to kick on and show it a bit in the campaign that's just gone. Obviously, what happened in the Cups kind of set them back a little bit. They didn't really get many, if at all, opportunities, and Woodburn went out on loan and things didn't quite work out from there. I just worry with those two lads, especially Woodburn, whether it might be too little too late. I think Woodburn doesn't quite look like he suits our style. He's been moved into midfield, but I think he's still just a little bit too creative. He doesn't kind of have that tenacity that players like Lallana or Oxlade-Chamberlain have, where they can drop back and win the ball back. Curtis Jones, I don't really know. We haven't really seen enough of him. I think he's maybe got slightly more of a chance because he's a little bit younger, I think, and he hasn't had quite as many chances to prove himself at Liverpool yet. So maybe it remains to be seen whether it works out for those two, but they're going to need a lot of opportunities in the Cups to actually prove themselves if they want to stand any chance of working their way into the first team proper. Moving on to the attack, Divock Origi looks fantastic, man. I mean, any of you who followed this channel and watched all my pre-season videos last summer will know that I slated him a bit, and I feel a bit bad about that now, given the season he had. But in pre-season, the guy couldn't hit a barn door. His finishing was all over the shop. His movement wasn't great. He didn't look that good on the ball, but he looks a completely different player this time out. We've seen today what Jurgen Klopp's been talking about when he signed his contract, where he said he looks fantastic in training. He looks sharp. He looks like a proper number 9. He looks like he's fitting into the team like a glove now, and the goal was just brilliantly taken. I mean, I've talked already about the ball from Joel Matip, but the touch from Origi to kill it dead, to just land it on your foot, you can't see there, but I was trying to do a little bit of what Divock Origi did earlier, but then to take it round the goalie as well, it was just brilliant. I mean, he really looked like, you know, the men against boys kind of thing, where he was just running right and loving life in that second half. So, you know, I've done a complete 180 on Divock Origi. I love the guy. I'm sure he's going to have a big part to play this season, and he's got plenty of chances to prove himself in pre-season that he deserves to be in the starting 11 for those early games in the campaign. Paul Glatzel and Bobby Duncan both looked fine as well. It's a shame to see Paul Glatzel go off injured, because we know he's a solid player for the under-23s. I think the commentator on LFC TV said that him and Duncan had 60 goals between them last season for the youth side. So, I mean, regardless of what level you're playing at, 30 goals each is just impressive in any situation, because to just score that many goals, to get in the right position, score that many goals that many times, is fantastic. So hopefully those lads will kick on. I hope Paul Glatzel's fine, so I want to see a bit more of him in pre-season. And Bobby Duncan as well took his goal very well. He seems to have an understanding with Glatzel, so maybe we'll see a bit more of that later on. And hopefully see them in centre-forward roles as well, because they were always trying to get inside. They weren't playing as natural wingers, and that kind of facilitated the fullbacks to get forward, so that was fine. But I think really where they want to be playing is where Divock and Brewster were playing. They want to be in the middle, in the 6-yard box, getting the goals. It looks like Liverpool have got a lot of finishes in their side at the moment, which for me is an incredibly good sign, especially just in pre-season when you want to be racking up the goals. Whether or not their overall games can improve and they can sort of work their way into the side in a more Firmino style remains to be seen, but it certainly looks like Jurgen Klopp's got options there, and the simple task of putting the ball in the back of the net is absolutely no problem for any of our young strikers at the moment. So all things considered, a great way to start off pre-season. It's always nice to start off with a win. I haven't talked about the goalkeepers, partially because they had pretty much naff all to do, and partially because I'm not even sure I knew who the lad who played in goal in the second half was. I also didn't talk about the goalie that came on as a sub. That was fun. He had about one touch. It's a shame he didn't score, but, you know, that was to be expected given that Tranmere sat back reasonably well, so he was never getting any space regardless. But yeah, all things considered, great performance, great result. Really nice to see the lads come out, and positive signs going forward, especially given that we know we are going to be missing a few players going into the early games of the season. We are going to have a bit of a selection issue where some lads are going to be a bit rusty. You know, Mane might come back at 70% for that game against Norwich, and we're going to need to call upon the squad. And it looks so far like they are ready to answer that call and ready to play top quality football for Liverpool Football Club. So yeah, that is all for today's video. Thank you guys very, very much for watching. I'll be back soon with, maybe a post-match video for the next friendly or some sort of news update if something happens before then, if Liverpool actually finally sign a player worth talking about. But until then, thank you very, very much for watching. I hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, hit that like button down there, hit that subscribe button there if you're new around here. Check out some of the other videos that have been out on the channel in the past. Don't forget to follow at LFC Focus TV on Twitter, and I'll see you lot very soon. Until then, bye for now.